Hey folks, and welcome to week number 8. Okay, this is also the beginning of unit number 3. This is your first real true research paper. So the past 2 papers we've done have really focused on understanding different kinds of sources. Learning how to read those sources, learning how to interpret the information that we find from within them. Okay, the next 2 essays are about putting those skills to use when you're doing research and finding sources for your own papers. Okay, so this week I got 7 things on the list. Watch the weekly video, listen to the Science versus Artificial Sweeteners podcast, read the sample essay 3. Just as I did with the others, I've got a sample essay. This one I put right up the front. Take part in the research discussion, read the essay 3 assignment, look at the proposal template and example, and then submit the essay 3 proposal. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to walk you through all of this. So right here, there's a link to a podcast. That will take you here. If you hit the play button, it should play, no problem. However, there's some other options as well. I want to sit at your computer listening to this podcast for 45 minutes. I totally understand. If you've got an iPhone or an Android phone or some other device in which you can do podcasts, if you go here, it will take you to Science Versus website. And we'll actually give you the ability to listen to it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also search for this on virtually any podcasting app you've got, and just make sure you find the one from June 8th, 2017, Artificial Sweeteners, Not So Sweet. Okay? So this obviously also focuses on artificial sweeteners. It references some of the research you've read earlier and sort of talks about what that means in practical terms, I think. I wanted to give you this option if you are someone who, I don't know, works out or what have you, and you wanted to be able to listen to this while you were doing something else, or heck, even while you're making dinner, something of that sort. You can go to the website, get it, put it on your phone, hook up your headphones, and listen to it that way. So you don't have to sit at a computer and listen to it for any length of time. Okay, right here is a sample essay 3. If you click on it, it'll load up. And this just gives you an idea of one way in which we might go about the essay. There are lots of other ways. But I do want you to read both of those, because the last step in this part is research discussion. It's your second research discussion. Okay, so I want you to think about the ways in which the sample essay 3 and the Science Versus podcast from this week's work are different from other types of research writing you've been taught to do. In a post, highlight some of the key differences you saw, what you thought of them, reply to 2 of your classmates' responses as well. Okay? So my goal here is that you will see some differences between research papers you've been asked to write in the past and what we see in Science Versus and in the sample essay 3 that I'm giving you. And I want you to think about what's different about them from what you've been asked to do before. Okay, let's go ahead and get into essay 3. The idea for this essay came to me as I started to see people sharing via Facebook or Twitter news stories and memes that were verifiably false. Or what more likely, and what was more interesting to me, was not the ones that were verifiably false, but things that were an oversimplification of the actual story. But these sorts of news stories and the way we respond to them, thinking that we get a huge portion of our news and information from sources that did not exist in our parents' generation. Okay, they could read the newspaper, watch the news, hit the library, talk to neighbors, but ultimately that was their ability to get news. Today, because of the internet, we've got a lot more information, and we are smarter for it. However, we also have the ability to access incorrect information more frequently, and ultimately to pass it around at an incredibly high rate of speed. Okay? So, we can take, for example, the belief that vaccines are unsafe. Jenny McCarthy was well known for sort of promoting this a number of years ago now, this sort of notion that vaccines triggered autism. They don't. The research is very clear on this, and a lot more research has been done because there was so much popular concern about it. Okay, the idea that the Affordable Care Act, that's Obamacare, limits cancer care to those over 70. Sarah Palin talked about this during the original Obamacare fights. So in some portions of society, those ideas have taken hold and become what Stephen Colbert would call truthy. If enough people believe it, it's simply true. Okay, so what I want you to do for Essay 3 is to investigate one of these types of claims, okay? If you have Facebook or Twitter, you have friends who post articles or memes like this, okay? And this can be just as simple as a meme. It doesn't have to be a full news story. If you go back and take a look at the sample Essay 3, it was just a single meme that someone shared on Facebook talking about the amount of mercury in fish, okay, compared to that in vaccines. Start taking a look at these sorts of articles and memes in your friends' feeds. If you don't have folks who do that, or you're not on social media, you can still do this. Find a news website that acknowledges its political bias. Turning Point News, for example, The Blaze. On the other side, Alternet and Mother Jones. If you're interested in health issues, Alternet often has a lot of stuff on health. You can think about things like, hey, drinking a glass of apple cider vinegar every day will do this for your health. That is the sort of thing we see on Facebook all the time. If you're interested in apple cider vinegar and your health, that's the sort of thing that we would see that makes me go, huh, I wonder what the research on this actually says, because there's no way it's as clear as drink this every day and this will happen, okay? So find a single article you think looks, or meme, that looks somewhat questionable or something that makes you go, identify the claims in the article, identify the claims you'd like to investigate, and those claims will be laid out in your proposal. Your job in this essay, and this is your research question, is to determine whether or not the news or the information presented in this piece of news is accurate by doing research, okay? Now, I'm going to give you a couple hints here. Do not go find something on, say, NBC or CNN or Fox News' website. All the major news outlets, by and large, are going to have their facts straight. They might not present all the information. They may focus more on one thing or something else, but at the end of the day, their information is substantially going to be correct. Also, don't pick something super local. A couple years ago, a number of students wanted to do a really interesting story that was very local, but the bottom line here is you can't find any research about it. It's like it was a situation where the only thing we were going to be able to find were the original police reports, and that was all information we already knew. So try not to do anything local. Try to do something that is national, it's health-related, it's psychologically related, something of that sort. Okay? You also don't want to pick something that is straight up false. If it's straight up false and you can prove it by like running to Snopes or something of that sort, we want to skip that topic because there's nothing for you to say about it. We know it's false. That's it. Okay? So that's just a couple hints to the beginning here. That was the Essay 3 assignment. If you've got any concerns about this, or alternatively, if you just would really like me to make a suggestion of something for you to do, I'd be glad to help you out. Just get in touch with me really early in this process. You don't want to be asking me for a topic because you've been struggling in 2 or 3 weeks when the paper's coming due, okay? You want to get this taken care of right off the bat. I've got plenty of these things I've seen that have always made me go, and I would be glad to share with you. The only other things here, a proposal for Essay 3. There's a template right here that you should fill out, and a sample Essay 3 proposal so you have an idea what it should look like and what sorts of things it should talk about. It's going to be a lot like the Essay 2 proposal, but do take a look at the sample, and then just submit that proposal here, and that's this week's work. If you've got any questions along the way, don't hesitate to let me know. I'm glad to help.